What can I say, this game gave me a smile on my face and a happy feeling in my chest for most of the game. In terms of immersiveness compared to previous Pokemon titles, this is the game a lot of us have been waiting for. I think it's the game that made me feel like a real Pokemon trainer the most. With the Game Boy games, it's like you're looking into the overworld from above. With Pokemon Let's Go, it just feels like you're in the game, from the beautiful colors and graphics, the orchestrated music and sounds, the story and Pokemon journey, and the Pokemon being in the overworld, and having a partner tag along with you. Being able to interact with Pikachu and have Pikachu interact back throughout parts of the game makes the Pokemon feel real. The Pikachu voice acting and animations are something exactly from the anime and movies, and that helps make Pikachu feel like a real companion. I did not play the Eevee version, but I've heard Eevee does not have the same breadth of animations and voice acting as Pikachu. Obviously because Pikachu is always used and more popular. Moments like where you catch the first Pokemon and the Pokeball floats and rolls was hilarious and unexpected. I'll mention 2 gripes I have before I continue on my joyous rant. Some Pokemon move animations need to be better, such as Double Kick, which is just 2 hops, and Hydro Pump, which doesn't come out of Blastoise's cannons. It's been a while since I played, but I think the only 2 Pokemon who say their names like in the anime are Pikachu and Eevee. Now that we're on the Switch and in the 3D Pokemon games, I think it's a terrible waste to not reuse or create voices where the Pokemon can say their names, because it adds so much more realism. When you use Charmander and just hear the regular Game Boy growl, it really breaks the realism that could be created by just importing a Charmander voice from the anime and putting it in the game. All of the Pokemon should be able to say their own names like in the anime. Not having Mew do its cutesy Mew voice like in Pokemon the movie is very disappointing. I hope they fix this in the next Pokemon game coming out in 2019. If they really wanted to, they could push an update that would add the Pokemon voices to the game, and in my opinion, that should be the first content they try to add to the game if they're going to add content to it. I'm honestly baffled at how they missed this opportunity and instead took the traditional and lazy routes. However, all of this helps make Pikachu feel much more realistic and all the other Pokemon not as realistic like Pikachu. End of tangent. Even though there were minor imperfections like the aforementioned, Pokemon Let's Go has a high fun factor the whole way through. Seeing characters like Professor Oak, Brock, and Misty, and all the characters like Team Rocket and the Elite Four, and even Officer Jenny, come to life in the game is a true pleasure to experience. Seeing Pokemon wander about in the overworld like it would actually be like if Pokemon were real instead of encountering invisible RNG Pokemon like in the Game Boy games is a vast improvement to the universe of the Pokemon games. Listening to the orchestrated soundtrack while traveling through the 3D version of Kanto is both nostalgic and exciting. The power of the Switch lets you play it on the big screen or take it out on the go, helping the game shine over its DS counterparts with the power of the Switch. It's a much more immersive experience on the big screen though. Certain animations, like how your character and Pokemon would give each other a high five after earning a badge, is a nice touch, and the fact that the events of the game happens years after the Red, Blue, and Yellow games is refreshing for the story. Seeing characters like Red and Blue in the game interacting with your character make for really fun moments. It's nice to have those kinds of additions to the story that the original Red, Blue, and Yellow games did not have. Controlling Pikachu even momentarily in the Team Rocket hideout under the casino was a surprise addition I did not expect to happen. I also didn't expect for it to make me wish that the game would let me play as Pikachu a bit more often. When my character and Pikachu arrived at the Elite Four, it felt like a pivotal moment as they stared up at the building that houses the Elite Four. Pokemon Let's Go is a true remake of that Kanto journey, while making many welcomed additions and subtractions that enhance the experience. As a result, it's able to keep the charm and magic of those original first Pokemon games, while creating its own unique charm and magic that resulted in, at least for me, a Pokemon journey that I will never want to forget. After completing the Pokemon League, the combination of the music, environment, stream atmosphere, and the journey and bond I had with my Pokemon culminated into an emotional experience where I got teary-eyed. It feels weird to say, but I didn't feel weird at the time. It's also a fun game to stream, be it from shiny hunting or just playing the game regularly and viewers giving suggestions and helping out. There's little nice touches like when one of the Pokemon you bonded with becomes poisoned. It may say something like, Pikachu shakes off the poison because he didn't want you to worry. And if their health gets down to low in the red, it may say something like, it looks like Blastoise is going to cry, which was weird at first, but makes you realize that Pokemon just aren't fighting machines and that they have feelings too. Again, a game being able to make someone smile and bring joy through the majority of the gameplay is pretty incredible. Pokemon Let's Go captured the essence of Pokemon and what it would feel like to be a Pokemon trainer. My first Pokemon game was Red version, and I grew up with Gen 1, especially watching the Pokemon anime often when I was a kid. So this game took me on a nostalgic trip I would not soon forget. Pokemon Let's Go deserves a rating of 9 out of 10. What stops it from getting a higher rating is the aforementioned weaknesses, like Pokemon animations and voices. Players were also not happy that there wasn't the traditional wild Pokemon battling and instead had the Pokemon Go catch mechanic. The Pokeball Plus was a nice addition to the game, though expensive. It made it more immersive when making the throwing motion, feeling the rumble in the Pokeball and seeing it light up and hearing the Pokemon's cry when it was caught. Motion controls were not always accurate or ideal, however. Improving the motion control accuracy or stopping it from being possible to overthrow the Pokeball would make for a better experience. Having options to switch the Pokemon Go mechanic to battling the wild Pokemon could have been an improvement to please the wider fan base. Pivoting from Pokemon Let's Go, what I would expect from the next Pokemon game is something more traditional. It needs to be open world, similar to Breath of the Wild. It should have a mix of new elements and old, such as having new Pokemon in all the previous gens. Being able to transfer Pokemon from the DS games is a must, because players would be upset that their Pokemon would be stuck there. Pokemon should still be wandering around in the overworld, making for quite the interactive Pokemon experience, and the battles should attempt to capture the immediate surrounding environment. Imagine encountering certain Pokemon like Deoxys in space, or legendary flying Pokemon high up in the sky, or legendary water Pokemon deep in the ocean or even in the middle of the ocean. Certain Pokemon move animations need improved, and each Pokemon should have their own unique cry from the anime series instead of one from the Game Boy games. Ideally, there would be multiple regions, and an area where players can walk around and battle each other online. Online co-op would be a plus. Allowing one Pokemon to follow the player also needs to carry over. Pokemon fans have a lot to expect from the 2019 Pokemon game on Nintendo Switch. We'll just have to see how far Nintendo are willing to go to deliver the dream Pokemon game for Pokemon fans. Overall, Pokemon Let's Go has a high fun factor, high replay value, is a great experience, and just brings a lot of joy. Having Pokemon on the Nintendo Switch does make it harder to go back to the Pokemon games on the DS, where it's stuck on a tiny screen and where it'll have less potential.